You will open the meeting of Monday, February 5th, 2024 at 6:13. And stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to approve warrant WR 24-16?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have a motion to approve executive session minutes of January 8th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. To be released.
To be released.
Okay, next we have public session. If there's anybody here that has public session info. Interim town clerk.
She's not here.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, a customer.
Oh, all right.
I think the mic is on
It's on.
for like whoever's on there.
Oh, theirs is on?
I think.
Okay.
I don't know if can you tell on your end?
Yep. It is. Okay.
I will,
Yeah, if we could skip.
we can wait for her.
Okay.
Board of Health appointment recommendation from Board of Health.
Yes, so the Board of Health met last Wednesday. We've had an opening since October. And we had one applicant. And we did have an interview. And in light of the one applicant, we did make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that the applicant be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. And I just would say that in light of the fact that I am part of that board, I would request to not be part of the conversation related to the appointment.
Okay. Lucy, did you see the interview on YouTube at all?
I saw only a portion of it.
Yeah. No doubt, very well qualified, you know, but this appointment would only be from now till June 30th. And this would be part of a bigger discussion with FinCom as far as a clerk for this building, for all the boards. So,
Does she understand it's only till June 30th?
We didn't discuss that, but I think she understands that all appointments are until June 30th.
Yeah.
So speaking from the Board of Health perspective, I will say that because we're part of Central Mass Regional, no, we're not, because we're part of Leicester Regional Public Health Coalition. I was in a meeting last Thursday night, and there's talk of the coalition helping as well with some of the administrative things that, I've been doing for the last 2 months. So That is some kind of late breaking things. And the Board of Health, when we announced the most recent resignation, we did express concern to the Board of Selectmen that a long-term solution should be considered because this is the third clerk in 2 years.
Yeah.
So, it was 2 hours and then we've just got funding for 5 hours, but it's, I'm not sure that this is a long-term solution with 2 hours a week and with all of the things that the changes. I think an idea of having more flexibility for the town is something to consider.
It just concerns me that she hasn't been notified formally that it is only an interim position. If she takes the job, she has to realize that before she says that she wants it. Otherwise, it doesn't seem quite fair
Mhm.
to the applicant. So I would want to be very, very clear that she understands that it's an interim position that could possibly change after June 30th. If we decide to go in that direction of doing something on a bigger scale. It just should be mentioned to her before she says that she wants the job.
Make an interim appointment contingent that it's only till June 30th.
Yes, she's got to be able to make that decision for herself.
I'll make that as a motion then contingent upon.
But she's not here tonight to give us her input, which I would like to hear. What her point of view is
We
on
could-
that, since she hasn't been notified of
We
it.
could
It
put it
would
to
be
the next
something
meeting,
new
too.
coming to her.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the only fair thing
Yeah.
to do.
We could do that too.
I think I would
Move it to the
prefer,
next meeting for her to be here. Yeah, okay.
okay? All right, thank you.
Edna,
Yes. The one thing I was going to ask if the board would vote out, or opt out of early voting for the town election, but I did find a sheet of paper from Chris that she had written a letter last year, and it said that the board has voted to opt out.
with
So
the
it
town
still goes
election,
on for this year too, right?
want us to revote that for this year?
Yeah, or as long as it's okay, it's just,
Nothing's changed, so
do you want to see the letter she wrote?
you look at it.
I definitely like to understand it since I wasn't on the board then, the rationale.
That was from the,
Yeah,
She
Okay,
proposed
Yeah.
opting out.
yeah.
Right.
She
we
said
did
it was,
not do early voting.
right, well, she said because one thing, you'd have to have more people on to, it costs more to have people there and have the town hall open at certain times and things like that.
Does the state tell you if you do early voting, you have to do it this many hours and in this way?
Well, yeah, and it's, yeah,
Yeah.
basically,
So you couldn't say, hey, we're going to do 1 day of early voting.
right, yeah, we usually like, for the next election, we have one day during the week and one day on a weekend for early voting.
And that's because it's the state election, you
Yeah.
have to.
But yeah, I think any early voting, you'd have to do it that way. Have to have so many hours.
It is an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
You have to notify them ahead of time, ballots ready ahead
Yeah.
of time. Many more people on hand, many more people.
So there's opting out of mail-in voting, and then there's opting out of early in-person voting.
Right,
So this is for both of those?
right. The only early, mail-in voting would be for absentee ballots. I
Right.
guess, yeah,
And is there an added cost to early mail-in voting.
Well, yeah, because you gotta, well, first you gotta send, it's
everybody-
gonna be like 88 cents per envelope that goes out, because it's got like the 2 envelopes plus the big envelope, and, yeah. So it'd be 88 cents for,
So do you have to send an early ballot to everybody, not just those that request them
just those that request them. And I probably have about 100 in there already
for early,
for early voting for March.
for the
For the
state one?
primary, yeah.
Primary.
Yeah, I mean, I personally feel like early voting is important.
It's just for town.
Right, just for, so this would be for the town. But
They can always apply for absentee ballots too.
but there's certain other requirements for absentee
Well,
voting.
there's supposed to be that they can't make it to this town hall for some reason, they're sick or out of town or whatever. But nobody ever really questions them. You just get the thing, say, I want a early vote, absentee ballot. And I don't think anybody's ever questioned them.
But people could also come in, if we did early voting, and ask for the early voting ballot.
Yeah, if you're gonna do early voting.
We voted that last year because of cost.
And it's the postage.
So maybe we should take a look at what the actual
Yeah.
cost for this year would be.
Yeah. I mean, especially if we're not mailing it out to all 600 households, we're just gonna, in theory, I request an early ballot, you could mail it to me, or I could save the town 88 cents and come pick up the ballot. So we're potentially talking about the mailing
But you'll need somebody here.
Yeah,
so they don't mail
access
it,
to those.
but don't they also mail it back?
No, if you come to the town hall to pick it up.
Oh, to pick it up, you have to
She's
be,
gonna be here,
yeah,
or somebody's gonna be
yeah,
in her office.
yeah.
And that's not
Yeah.
all day long.
yeah.
No, I would mail out, they'd send me a request for the early voting. And then I would have to make a little, everything that
put
goes
everything
into
in
the
it.
envelope,
Mhm.
then mail it back to them. Even absentee ballots, you have to do that. They have put in a request and then you mail them the ballots so they can do absentee ballots.
And would we have to order special early voting mail-in?
That's
Or
what
early-
the state require,
So
well,
that
I know
might
for
be
the
a
state
cost.
ones, they require special early voting ballots. But I'm not sure if they'd do that with the town ones too, if we have to, I haven't really checked into it that much.
I could see if you had to get a whole separate ballot
Yeah.
and they make you order 500 of them or something like
Yeah,
that.
like I said, I have the early ones that want to vote by mail now, it's probably over 1,000. I think,
Wow.
yeah, not 100, I meant,
Okay.
yeah, it's still quite a bit, and
It's a fifth of who voted in the last municipal election.
yeah, right. And it just seems like, a lot of extra work to get it all prepared and ready to go.
I definitely think there's a lot of people in Ocam that work out of town. And I know when I traveled, I always did an absentee ballot.
Right,
But then there were some weeks that I didn't know that I was going to be traveling.
yeah.
And it came up where I would have rather just said, you know what, I'm going to do an early
Oh, yeah.
ballot.
I think you can ask for early, absentee ballot. I'm not sure the exact dates, but something like a week, not even a week ahead of time, maybe 3 or 4 days. You gotta have enough time to mail it to the person and then get it back. I mean, you can have somebody already drop it off too,
And do you have to vote to accept or decline on both of them? Or can you just decline on the in-person early voting and only allow the
absentee.
mailed?
I thought the way Chris explained it, it had to be both, and that's why that letter is written that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would have no issue with the early in-person, not doing that one. But I'm just curious if you could have one of those and what the cost would be, potential cost. only because there's already been so many for the state. That just shows that there's a
There's a need.
demand.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think there's anything more important than promoting voting, so trying to take down obstacles.
Okay, why don't I check in about that, the early, not the, not the absentee, but the early voting and not having a actual day for them to come in and vote?
Mhm.
They can just like an absentee ballot, only just mail it in.
Okay. You want to look
I
into
would have to
that?
let the people know that they have to mail it in.
Yeah. All right. All right. See what you can find out.
Yeah,
We'll see.
okay, and I have another thing that happened to me the other day. I got it, luckily I was at home and I was looking up my emails and I got one from Maribel saying that some boxes came for me and she signed them, but said she wasn't comfortable signing for other departments. And I don't think that's a right thing to do because, when I applied for this job, we were gonna all work together as a team. Well, to me, that's not teamwork. And not only that, because, even the collector and me, we have things that come in that are very time sensitive and we don't have a lot of time. Like I have to get some things in and to certify them and then send it back to the people to get on a ballot or something. So if people have to keep coming back to have these things signed, it's not gonna work because most of them come the last day that it's due. And then the same with tax collecting. A lot of times they overnight something to pay their taxes and it's usually like the day before or the day of and if after 2 times those get sent back, like from UPS and FedEx, they get sent back to the people that are sent them in. So now if nobody's going to be there to sign for them, they're going to be up the creek. They're going to end up owning interest and demands even possibly. So I think it should be a requirement that she has to sign for these things. And the only reason she was uncomfortable about it. And I think you guys all got the email too.
Yeah, I remember reading it.
I think part of it, her being uncomfortable about it is because I have requested her not to sign anything for the Conservation Commission.
Then just do it for the conservation, because I think, especially tax collector and the town clerk have a lot of time sensitive things.
But I'm saying, I think that's why she wasn't comfortable because I may have
Oh.
started that thought in her mind
Oh,
that maybe
okay.
she shouldn't sign for things that she doesn't not know what they are, that
But,
she's not aware of.
I had
them.
no idea those boxes were coming. So, I mean, if I didn't check my email at home, it would have been like 2 days later. And if they had brought them back a second time, they might have sent them back to the state.
So these were ballots,
These were actual ballots.
actual ballots?
Ballots and boxes, yeah, sealed boxes.
Okay. Do you give her permission to go in your office to drop those
Well,
off?
she has a key, so
I asked.
Yeah.
you gave her
Nobody ever
permission.
asked me if I had to give permission, but yeah, I don't mind.
You don't mind
I would give a key to the person that cleans to come in and clean
Yeah.
once in a while.
Okay,
And I just want to make it clear
as long
because
as you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. Because we don't want to be opening up offices,
Yeah,
particularly with ballots.
yeah, I can understand that, but
That's the thing.
and because I've been told in the past, do not go into other people's offices.
That's,
I
yeah.
try not to overstep anyone's
Oh,
roles
okay.
or for that matter. So that's why I at least signed it. I took a picture. I sent it to
Right,
your
yeah.
email to notify
that's
you and how to proceed moving forward. But I just wanted to make it clear that I wasn't comfortable because I've been addressed not to open other people's offices. Some people are fine, some aren't. So I don't know where
I've worked,
anyone
you know,
stands.
for over 21 years, I've worked in 4 different towns and there was never an issue about anybody signing for anything. I mean, and it just seemed like, well, this is strange that he's not going to sign it.
Well,
Especially for tax things and things, things.
I don't
that
know
are
if it's
time-sensitive.
strange, but I feel like with me being here a lot, I think I do things with the best intent and sometimes it comes back and bites me. So I'm a little gun shy as to, I don't know, should I do that? Should I not do it? I don't want someone to think that I'm overstepping. I'm, butting into things that are not my place. So I am a little cautious as to where my role lies and not overstep or step on anyone's toes.
Okay, but I just think, I think it's for the, especially the time sensitive things, it's very important to get those signed.
But you also have to understand from my perspective, if I signed for ballots or something, tax collector, and then that goes missing, it's my signature on there and I'm not the one receiving it. I could put it on your desk, but what if it went missing? I'm just saying in hindsight, you can understand my perspective of it as well. So I just want to make that clear and for the record that it's not because I'm not a teamwork player or don't want to help. I will by all means, but I just want to make clear that everyone is okay with me doing it, open in your office, put it on there. I know that when Chris was in there, she always said it's okay. I would still take a picture and email it
Yeah,
to her
that's
so
fine.
she
I don't
can
mind just
know
putting it in.
that it's in there. Because at the end
So
of
you
the
don't have
day,
a problem with it?
Pardon?
You don't have a problem with her putting?
No,
it in?
not at all.
Okay, we're done.
Okay. I think that's all I,
Similar question, please.
Name?
Often in the planning board mailbox outside, there will be something for the ZBA, for some reason using the same box number. And if it's a time sensitive thing, I'll go to the post office, sign for it and put it in the ZBA box. Because otherwise, if that box isn't attended or somebody misses that letter, then that would be the same question. I don't mind signing for it. But if it comes in directly to Maribel, could she sign for one of those and put it in the ZBA box?
Yeah, as long as you guys are okay with it.
but and the only thing with Lucy is that sometimes when you sign for something, conservation or CBA, if it's a hearing, sometimes the clock can start right from when that signature. So it could be I could sign for it today and someone from that board not see it for 3 days later, but now they're already 3 days in. So that's, I think, what had happened initially with conservation. I thought I was doing a good deed and sure, I'll sign this letter. And then it was 2-3 days until Lucy saw it. And that's where this whole stemmed. And I was like, oh, I don't know what is time sensitive. I don't know what's inside the letter. It could be just an informational letter, or it can be something that once it's signed, the clock starts to tick. And same with ballots. I wasn't comfortable opening your door. So I'm like, now I'm leaving these ballot boxes in the hallway. It's
or you
not.
could put them in your office too.
Oh,
You
that's
know, that would
true.
have been
I was
another
on my
thing.
way out. You're absolutely right. Sure. But again, these are the things that need to be clear. I don't want to overstep anyone's role or
That's like
authority.
I was always on, we always had before, somebody came in, we signed it.
I always did,
Just so
yeah.
that it came in. So it kind of took me back when it's like, I don't feel comfortable signing these things. So that kind of took me back a little bit.
Yeah,
I didn't know that that was a policy anymore,
Yep.
that you don't sign for anything.
So I've been here a number of times where I'm the only one in the building. Somebody knocks on the door. Oh, I'm trying to do this. It's a challenge of being in a small rural community
Right,
with half-time employees.
Mhm.
And so how do we manage? I think every one of us just like, okay, fine, I'll sign, but know that I'm not that department, I'm not that board.
Mhm.
So, but that's the challenge when you only have limited office hours. We're trying to be customer focused. So anybody in the building potentially could be in a position of signing.
right.
And I think as long as all the other boards, committees and departments understand that that doesn't mean we're accepting responsibility.
Right.
I mean, I've had people bring in their tax payments under the previous treasurer. And I'm like, all I'm doing is signing that at this time and on this day, I put it in the mailbox.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're not going to get a late fee.
Right.
So, I mean, that is a risk and that is a challenge. And that's why I think looking at how we staff the hours of this building to be available to the residents more or adapting to the people who are in the building, as long as everybody's okay with it, I think makes sense. If it's about, helping the customers.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Edna.
Yep.
Okay, library trustees, library director. What's up?
We just came to discuss my position, which has currently been advertised for about 6 weeks, I think. We've had 2 applicants. Neither are librarians or have significant experience working in libraries. So we have come to discuss the possibility of, sorry, I can't see all 3 at once.
Do you want to up here?
Okay. Of,
Easier.
slightly altering the position to make it more appealing to potential applicants. If nothing can be done, then nothing can be done, but we thought we'd at least talk to you about it because there has been some kind of vague discussion about it in the past, about increasing the number of hours, making it a benefited position. Yeah, so I have some numbers from you, Don, as far as what it would cost health insurance,
Yep.
or I guess all of the benefits of the position. I just wanted to clarify, the numbers you sent me are roughly $22,000 for a family plan for an employee for insurance and whatever else that comes with
That
it.
also includes retirement,
Okay,
town share of the retirement and all that.
and roughly 13,000 for a single person. And you said it's 70-30 split with the town, but I assume the numbers you gave me, that's the town's.
That's the town share.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So there's 2 questions. One is, since I am trying to leave, and we're midway through the fiscal year, what could be done for the remainder of the fiscal year? And then the other question, the bigger question is what could potentially be done for the new fiscal year and all future fiscal years? And we're open to all sorts of options.
So how many hours is the library open?
The library's open 29 hours a week.
And you're working 19,
19 and a half. Yeah.
19 and a half.
You're in the building 19 and a half? Or do you do any out
I
of,
do a lot of at-home work.
so you are working?
Yeah.
More than 19?
Right, we do, yeah. So, yeah, and several people did reach out to me about the position saying, I'm interested, but there's no way you work 19 and a half hours. And I had to just be honest with them and say, no, I don't really. So they didn't apply for the job. So, yeah, and we want obviously what's best for
Someone
the
else join?
town's overall financial situation, but also we're the advocates for the library. I kind of put the numbers together of what it would cost for the library to cover the increase for March through June of this year. And depending on whether it's someone who needs the single payer health plan or the family, looks like it's probably going to be between $7,000 and $11,000 of an increase just for that 4-month period. And I don't really understand how the benefits, the healthcare and stuff works, so I could be kind of wrong in how that all would calculate. And that would be to increase the library director position to 25 hours a week.
25.
To 25. So I could give you the numbers for up to 27, up to 29. Increasing it to 25 hours a week would increase the library director's salary by about $9,000 over the course of the year. However, we'd be able to scale back slightly, maybe the part-time wages if the library director took over some of the hours. That the complicated part then is taking away hours from current employees, which is a bit tricky to.
You may lose those employees.
Yeah, it's not certainly something we'd want to do to the people who have kind of been working for us for years, but we want a qualified librarian to take over and be able to continue on with everything for however many years into the future and make sure that it's an appealing position when they hand it off and everything like that.
I mean, a lot of stuff there. I certainly think that we are going to end up paying for more than 19 and a half hours. Because that's what, I mean, if you're working more than 19 and a half hours, we're paying you for the hours. We have to. So if it takes 25 hours, and the director's working 25 hours, we're gonna have to pay that. And I definitely think it takes more than 19 and a half hours, and we shouldn't tell somebody because we hit this magic wall of having to cover health insurance, that's how many hours the job is.
Right, yeah,
Because that's not realistic.
right.
And certainly, I think our library has more than delivered on all that it traditionally has done, and then also much more. I do think that if the hours of the director increase, it should be offset. It should offset the second staff person. I think financially, that's the responsible
Yeah.
thing to do.
For sure.
Because you wouldn't need 3 people. I mean, I understand the 2, it's about safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wouldn't be comfortable supporting having 3 people if we were able to offset. But I think OCAM needs to have a qualified librarian, and we've been very fortunate to have you, and we need to make sure that we don't go backwards.
Yeah, that's what we want to see as well. Someone who can continue to build and has all the ideas and the dreams to do that. So I know there'd been some discussion about for next fiscal year, increasing the hours. But we obviously want it to match what if we're gonna, I mean, and this is really a question for the library trustees. We'll have to discuss about how much of the funds that we have, because it sounds like, or at least from you, Don, the town does not have any funds to cover the gap in the end of the fiscal year if we were to try and advertise the position in a more appealing way than it currently is.
We just had special town meeting where we allocated
Right.
funding.
Yeah.
So
My timing is all.
short of another special town meeting,
Right,
there's no way to move that money,
right, yeah.
unless you can think of something, Alan.
I hate to say this is the first I'm hearing on some of this, so I'd like to think about it and maybe have some further discussion on it, but
Sure,
I don't have just an easy answer.
sure.
Tell you what we did with the police department was we made them take part-time money
Uh-huh.
into full-time slots
Right,
to get over the hump.
Yeah.
Do you have enough in the part-time area that can be?
no, the part-time money is all being used right now by the part-time staff. The fact that we don't have there's this whole question about the town bylaws in regards to staff sick time and vacation time. So currently, when a staff member is out sick or on vacation, that according to the way the bylaws are written right now, it looks like they should be given that time. We pay additionally to have a sub come in for those hours. So we're actually kind of overspending in the part-time wages right now, so that the part-time staff gets to have pay for their sick time or the holidays or whatever like that.
Are the part-time staff working a normal schedule every single
They work
week?
the same schedule every week.
Every week?
Unless they're out sick or something like
Yeah,
that. They're
but
not
they're
irregularly
scheduled to work.
They're scheduled the same.
You're
hours
scheduled to work 10 hours this week,
Yep.
next week, and the week after?
Yeah.
All year?
all year.
Okay.
We don't,
That makes them eligible for benefits?
right, yeah.
Okay.
We have the substitute we use, she does not.
She
Yeah,
does not?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
They're going to have to do what they have to do in order to get one that's qualified.
Hmm.
We're not really going to be able to hold anybody up we're going to have to make a choice. We're going to have to make a decision. And it's probably going to be a little more than what we're hoping. But that's how we're going to be able to keep it open.
What's the status of our certification?
The library's accreditation.
Yeah.
The only reason the library would be at risk of losing its accreditation is if the town significantly cuts the library's budget, especially if it's cut in a way that is not matching the way other town budgets are getting cut. So the state requires us to increase our budget by 2.5%, the average of the previous 3 years. This year, that's not going to be a problem at all. But yeah, so we haven't had a problem like that in the time that I've been here. I believe with the previous director, there was 1 year where the town had, or the library had to ask for a waiver from the state to not lose accreditation.
Does the qualification of the librarian or library director impact that?
In the state of Massachusetts, in a town of less than 10,000 people, the only requirement is that the librarian have a bachelor's degree, and I think they have, I forget how many years, 2 to 3 years to complete a series of courses that this, if they don't have their MLS, their master's, they have a number of years to complete several classes that the state offers that are kind of basic library technique training classes. So yeah, so we are a little bit limited in that we need someone with a bachelor's degree, but we don't need someone with a master's degree.
But our last 2 librarians had their MLS. And
Yes,
we don't want to go backwards. Us trustees
True.
anyway.
yeah, no, I understand that.
So the ask is for this fiscal year to see if there's a way to fund so it can be advertised, understanding we can't use a test of, are you gonna need insurance or not? So there's a potential of a $10,000 swing for health insurance. So it could be 10,000, and then if it's for the insurance potentially, and then it's the salary.
It's actually, sorry, I think, and this is just the math that I did 10 minutes before coming here, so don't weigh it too heavily, but it looks like about, if it's an individual health insurance plan, it would be about $4,500 from March through the end of June. And then about $2,700 for the difference in the salary. So that's around $7,000 total, and around $10,000 total if it's a family health insurance.
Yeah.
And of course, yeah, if they don't need health insurance, then it's a lot less. Then we're talking about only $2,700, which is much more reasonable. And I can email you what numbers I put together if that's helpful to you.
Your budget proposal, was that based upon 19 and a half hours?
I didn't submit anything for the salary.
You left it as it was.
That was the request
Yeah.
from you guys, yeah, was to just leave that blank.
Right.
Yeah, so that, I think in my budget request, that was blank and the lending materials was blank, because that's based on a percentage of the total budget.
I would have to check with the treasurer, but I believe there may be a single plan already funded in this year's budget. We usually try to keep one ahead in the event mid-year something happens.
Okay,
There may be a single plan in there, just looking at the numbers.
okay, that would be good.
So that helps
Yeah.
a little bit. But going forward next year, we've got to
It becomes
build this
Yeah.
in.
in order, you're gonna pay it every
Right,
year going
yeah.
forward, Don. That's the thing you have to
Right.
keep in mind.
Right.
Is it's a one cost, it's not broken down by retirement and health insurance, it's just that single number that you,
Well, the retirement is a percentage that's given to us from the
Okay.
county.
gotcha.
That changes every year.
Right. Okay.
It's not a huge exorbitant amount,
Right.
but it's something that when we're looking at FY '25,
Right,
we've got to figure it in, and then beyond '25.
right.
For each year going forward.
Okay.
It's there forever. Once you do it, you own it for the rest of the year forever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Is there any funds within the library itself and the trust
I think
accounts or anything?
the difference in salary would be very reasonable for the library to cover. It's the health insurance costs that it really, it's a question then of, oh, do we want to spend all that money right now, or would it be better spent some other way, you know? But that's a question for the trustees. But yeah, to cover a difference in the salary of increasing the hours up to 25 hours a week is $2,700 for 4 months. That's reasonable for the library to cover with our current budget and state aid funding and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to get the position. I mean, it's
We do.
unfair for Sam to be she offered to hang in there. I don't think she realized.
We're gonna hold her.
Yeah, I've been definitely questioning if I'd be here through June, but
June of next year.
We could take a town vote on that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
no, it's been nice to stick around a little longer than I planned, certainly. Okay, great. So I guess we'll wait to hear from you about the,
Yeah, we gotta check with the treasurer just to
Okay.
make sure that is correct.
okay,
They cover 4 months' salary and that's already built in.
But what if
Yeah.
it's a family plan? Then there's still a difference of.
Again, that's why I want to check
Yeah.
with Wendy.
Yeah,
Is
we'll
that a
have to.
family plan or
I
a
know
single
we've put
plan?
something aside each year
We
usually.
usually do.
Yeah,
And if worse comes to worse, we can have a special before the annual.
usually we've put family plans aside.
Usually we do. Yeah, one year we did a single, for I don't know why, but
I don't either. But
usually we
so
do.
we
a family.
might very well have a family plan.
Yeah. Let us check into that.
okay, great.
I just know we used up one of the ones that we put aside. I'm not sure we've used up
But
another.
we funded that.
Yeah,
That was a separate
right.
addition to it. So,
Yep. We should be all set.
yeah.
And then as far as FY '25, do you have any thoughts on like where you want to see the position in the long term or for the following year?
Just my thought is
Yeah.
submit it as you want it.
Okay,
Mhm.
sure. I'm just thinking of if we decide to, you know, once we get this information back about the health insurance and are re-advertising the position, we kind of need to re-advertise it as it will remain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
When were you expecting to do budget meetings with all the departments?
We're going to talk about that.
We did our
We
first
should be
meeting
starting at
this
the
week.
next meeting.
on the budget.
Okay.
We just literally just got the materials last week,
Sure.
so had to wait till we had a meeting scheduled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we'll meet with the Board of Selectmen in each department as we can coordinate schedules.
Okay, so sometime
In the
in,
next 30 days, I'd say.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
very, very
great,
shortly.
okay.
Yeah, it becomes a crunch.
sure, okay, well, that should work out well then.
Because I think your department was going to be one of the first ones we're going to take a look at.
Great.
So you'll be early on the schedule.
Yep.
Sounds good. All
We can
right,
make that happen.
all righty, thank you all.
We might start as early as the next meeting of the Board of Selectmen,
Okay, I'm available.
but we'll let you know. We'll send out a schedule to all the department heads.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
good,
they'll know when they're
Okay.
due to come and bring their budgets with them.
sounds good.
Well, I got you. The well.
Yeah, the world. I talked to the last,
I did not share the
Oh, okay.
email.
The last I talked to the driller who we had wanted to work with was maybe 2 weeks ago, whenever I talked to you 2-3 weeks ago.
3, yeah.
He thought the rig broke down, they needed a new part. He thought it was still a few weeks out. And then he asked for like a week to repair it. And then with National Grid, we need about 2 weeks to schedule with them taking down the power line. So I'm hoping by the end of February, it'll all be done.
We don't have an idea on the price, right?
No, we do know that he did give me, you're asking me at around, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was like 12,000 maybe was where we had settled with
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
And I don't anticipate any change from there. So whatever was the figure that I gave you guys back.
Number you gave us that we used for opera and put it aside.
That was 6,000 for ARPA, I think.
And then it went from either 13 to 20 and it was a vague number.
It was on the lower end of that, so I can look it back up and send you an email tomorrow. Yeah, I do have the quote from him.
Let me know.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
Thank you
so
for
much.
everything you're doing.
thanks, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you.
Laura Shet. You're up.
Paul Rochette from Gaffney Road. I dropped off a memo to Dawn. I don't know, did you get a copy
Yes,
of
I
it?
did.
So everybody on the board has a copy. Basically, I've been following the progress of the new Council of Agents since, they've started totally on their own, kind of in a way. There's been a couple of concerns. The first one, if on the memo, the fact that they loan out
Mhm.
mobility assisting equipment. And there's a lot of concern about the liability of doing that. And they were hoping to have some type of a liability release form. And I suggested that maybe it's something that the town administration should run by KP Law. Because if there is any kind of a liability question, they're the ones that are gonna have to defend the town. So if they design a form, I think that would probably be the best suggestion, best way to go. The second thing, I'm concerned personally about town liability from all the years that I've been on the finance committee. And I know like court cases seem to give out real extreme penalties on some of these liability issues. And I know the conversation had come up previously about the COA members providing transportation. And verbally, it was basically told that they shouldn't because there's no insurance coverage. But I think there needs to be something in a written policy. So there's no question on that, okay? I mean, it's not a case of, we don't want you to do it. It can't be done. If you want to be on the council, you can't be providing the transportation. Because there's no way to separate your personal life from being on the COA, even though you say, I'm doing it on my own, you're still a member of the COA, and a good attorney is going to bite you right back on that. So that's one aspect that I'm very concerned about. And the second thing is, anybody involved in home health care, and I think that Maren can back me on this, anybody who does it professionally, okay, they're either their own malpractice insurance or they have coverage under an umbrella policy from the firm that they work for. And it doesn't take much for an accident to happen if somebody's going into somebody's home, even if you're just sitting for a person so that the caregiver can go somewhere or whatnot. At that point, you're responsible. If that person gets hurt in the house or, hurt out in the yard or something like that. If you're a member of the council, you're an agent for the town, even though you're a volunteer, and you're putting the town in a real liability risk. And I just really personally believe that's totally wrong. And I know it's for this board to consider and determine if I'm right or wrong. But I really think that item and the transportation should be put into a policy so that there's no questions. And I think it needs teeth. I think that policy should say that if you're providing these services, you have to be separated from the council. I mean, if somebody wants to do it on their own, God bless them. I mean, I do a lot of things on my own for people, but I'm not a member of any board or any council, okay? I'm not putting the town at risk when I do something. And I really think it's unfair for the townspeople to be put at a risk, unnecessarily. I mean, it's hard enough in this day and age. There's litigation for absolutely everything you can dream of. And I just feel that, improperly, that this board should look it over and come up with a written policy for that to happen. That's all I really have to say on it. I'm just, as a concerned citizen, looking out for the townspeople.
I'm curious what action the Council on Aging has taken in their meetings to address these issues, if they've been brought up in a public meeting, and their input, because I don't feel it's appropriate for the Board of Selectmen to act without the input or without the collaboration of the council. And so I personally wouldn't feel comfortable if it's only impacting the Council on Aging. I'm not sure why the Council on Aging isn't empowered to, as a appointed board or body, to make its rules regarding the services that it offers. If you look at the state statute on Council on Aging, the statute says that the Board of Selectmen appoint the members of the COA who are responsible for providing the services to the seniors. And so I personally don't feel it's appropriate for the Board of Selectmen to overstep that unless it's a policy that's overarching all boards, committees, and it's within their scope to do so. And so, Barbara, are you comfortable answering whether or not the COA on any of its agendas or public meetings has discussed either transportation or not doing home care and being a volunteer?
Two things. One, we have tried to abide by the fact that I asked early on about transportation and transporting other seniors in town. And we were clearly told, do not transport. So we have tried to stick to that. I'm not sure everyone has complied. At our last meeting, I gave out, or I provided the Mass Council on Aging guides to outreach. In that I've given several members and volunteers time to go through that manual. And in it, it's very comprehensive with all kinds of waivers and record keeping and all the kinds of things that personally, if we are the Council on Aging, we are not qualified to handle. It's record keeping of home visits. It's being able to monitor situations in a home. If you go to visit and you're just having a cup of tea, that's one thing, but you should be able to recognize that there are other hazards in that home and you are ultimately responsible for that notification. That's one thing. The other thing is, and now I lost my train of thought, but I have a group that's reviewing that whole guideline. In that guideline, and I think it's a reason where I would like to see the Board of Selectmen come up with a policy. In that outreach manual, it clearly says, if your municipality allows home visitations. So in some regard, other towns have been given policies by the Board of Selectmen or town manager, whoever they are, to prevent them from going into homes and risking that liability. I don't think as volunteers, especially the board that we are at this point, we have enough experience to be able to know this. We have one registered nurse, former registered nurse, who has gone through it and she said, I wouldn't touch a home visit today at all. She has in fact given up her license at this point. But in reading the manual, she said, there's just too much. Volunteers cannot handle all of the access and all of the liability that's there when you visit people. So that's, I'm thankful that Paul brought it up because I think we need more than just average Joe citizens being able to make that decision.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable if there was a vote of the COA on acting on these two issues. That's just my
Our
thought.
meeting is Friday, and I'm not sure whether the person heading up the review of that manual will have information ready. She's also responsible for the health fair that's coming up next week, so I'm not sure what the time frame for dealing with the manual has been. Whether they've been able to all review it. I know at least two of them have reviewed and taken notes. And I believe that their finding is that it's too much for us to handle professionally.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at other towns, they may have a paid employee doing that sort of thing.
Exactly. And in Rutland, for example, with the durable health equipment, it's the Lions Club that takes care of all that equipment. It's taken away from the COA completely. I mean, there are all kinds of liabilities with that. Is it in good repair? Is it cleaned? I mean, there are all kinds of things. Is it appropriate for the person requesting it? There are all kinds of issues that, all right, we give it out in good faith that it's the right thing. And it could come back to bite us that it was inappropriate or something else happened. So,
Yeah, I've always had concern about like giving someone a rollator versus the one that the walker that's got the tennis balls. They're not appropriate for all people. And somebody could get hurt using one of those.
well, we don't even know if they're, excuse me, but we don't know if they're in good repair. Those
Yeah,
have
they were.
brakes.
Yeah.
And how do we know? I'm not trained to know whether the brakes work or whatever, so. There's just a lot more, I wasn't as concerned until after I read the guideline that came out from Mass Council on Aging with all the activities that are suspect in it, so.
I agree. We are become a litigious society,
Right.
and I'm sure most of their things are up to date of the way they felt. I know when I started off, I asked the Board of Selectmen if I was able to take people to their doctors and like that. They said yes. They didn't, well, it was a long time ago. And they would look at the regulations and like that back then, and they said, we don't see a problem with it. We got, you're pretty well covered with insurance. And they allowed me to do it, and I had done it for many years. Cutting out that service of driving people to places puts this town at risk for people not being able to get to doctor's appointments and like that. And I understand that too. And we do need volunteers to do things like that. They do not have to be members of the Council on Aging.
Mhm.
Okay?
And that's another question. We have someone who does do that as a volunteer on their own. And what line do you draw? If they are comfortable doing it on their own, if they are a member of the board, that presents a liability
Yes, it does.
that we're not, when do you separate? At what point should they be separated? It's a gray area, and it could lead us into a lot of trouble.
That's kind of why we did the volunteer policy and the release. It explained you're not paid. There is insurance if somebody's upstairs and they trip and fall. You are a volunteer. We do have insurance for that. But we don't have insurance if you're out driving somebody and get into an accident. The town doesn't cover that.
Our insurance covers somewhat.
I thought it did. I thought we looked.
If the person is at fault, then the town covers. If the person is not at fault, then it goes on individual.
No, Lucy, I think that was what, if there was a, like,
Town vehicle.
an attachment.
Yeah.
For an attachment, but for just your individual car, if it's not a town vehicle, it is up to the owner of the vehicle's
So-
insurance.
So like at my company, every one of us has to turn in our vehicle insurance or our vehicle information. You get added to the policy. So if we're not on the policy as a town, even if it were a volunteer driver, if we're not on there, we're not covered. And so unless we're going to go looking to add, volunteer COA drivers.
But if you're an appointed person from the town, okay? And that person the COA gets a call downstairs and the person needs a ride, okay? Something happens, even though it's in somebody's private car, because the town has been contacted, okay, and the person is an appointed person of the town, the liability will fall on the town. I mean, you know how lawyers work.
That's
It's not as easy as everybody thinks. Lawyers can figure out anything.
It used to be easier long time ago, several years ago anyway, but people still call, I mean, even the people from Leicester, when they checked us out last year, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have a volunteer driver? Can you get your people to?
Yeah.
At that time, I said yes, because I was doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So no, they don't have that
Yeah.
for the town. Do you have medical equipment? Yes, we do. Oh, you have that too? I said, yes, we do have it. And they were asking, and we had a lot of the things they were looking for.
Mhm.
I know they came back and talked this year and added probably another one or two things to the, downstairs for the council, but it's getting very tight nowadays as to what you can or what you cannot do, or what you feel comfortable doing. You start telling seniors, you could be liable for this and this, never mind the town, but the senior, him or herself, it makes it very difficult. They don't want to take the risk. And we're going to be short-ended when it comes time to take care of our seniors.
And we do have to solve the inequity of not having, rural transportation.
Yes.
We have rural transportation. All it takes
You
is a
can call.
48-hour notice, okay? Anybody can get a ride for a doctor's appointment. They take them shopping. It's not like there isn't means available, okay?
There is if it's convenient to them and if it's convenient to you. I had them leave one senior behind at the doctor's appointment simply because the doctor was an hour or two behind, and they left the person there and she had to take a cab home. So it's not always convenient.
It's pretty well figured out, okay?
It's pretty well, but
They ask you what your appointment time is.
Yep.
Okay? They ask you what time you would like to be
Yep, I
picked
know
up
what they
from the
do.
appointment, and they will wait like an additional 20 minutes beyond that. So, I mean, like I say, nothing is perfect, but most of these services are available and can be done legally, okay?
And a lot of times, if your appointment is at 9 or 10, their pickup time is not until 12. So you're going to sit and you're going to wait
No,
until then.
They've changed all that, Lucy. Believe me, we had somebody come up and give us a talk on that. The transportation has been done very, very well now.
I know, I've heard those talks before.
I know several people who use it.
Oh, I do too.
So,
I had
I'm just
people
saying,
tell me
there's
before,
no
nobody
sense-
ever
there's no
uses
sense
it,
of
but
the
they do
town
use
taking
it.
the liability for this, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And again, if somebody
I'm
wants
just
to
saying
provide
that
these
if we cut
services,
down on these things, we are putting people more at risk. And
if somebody would like to provide these services,
Yep.
God bless them, but they should not be on the council.
no, already said that.
Well, that's all this is asking for in the
Yeah.
policy.
Right. But as I said, you keep saying that to seniors and nobody's going to want to take anybody anywhere because they're going to be afraid.
I do have to say that we have, because of the statement that we shouldn't drive other seniors, those of us on the board have not. However, we do have volunteers, and because they're volunteers, they're happy to drive someone to a lunch or whatever. As long as their schedules coincide, that sort of thing. If we had more people, it would make it even easier to carpool in those situations, and the board would not have to be a part of it.
But isn't carpooling in the sense that you're taking somebody somewhere or taking more than one person somewhere?
But it's a volunteer, not a member of the Council on Aging. It's their choice and their private vehicle.
Yeah, so there's no
no
expectation that
liability.
this is an employee of the
Right.
town. They're not an agent of the
Right.
town. They're just a neighbor.
Yeah,
So I think if that's clear, that seems like a
it would have to
reasonable
be a clear line.
policy
made.
that
Yes,
there is no appointed person can transport doing town business.
right.
Another person.
So in answer to Paul's two things here, I think we should run it by Maya and council.
Mhm.
Maya's the one covering us.
Yeah.
And council can,
They feel that we can just put a sign out on the storage unit.
for the first one.
Hmm?
For the first
Yeah.
question.
And they said that would cover us.
But I do think that there's still an issue, and it may just be because of my profession, but just handing out willy-nilly a non-licensed person a piece of durable medical equipment, which is really a prescription, is not always the right thing to do.
And the people who write out the prescriptions tell people, go check with your council on aging.
But if they're
They have
providing,
this
if they're
equipment."
providing
Yeah.
the instruction to, get a rolling
Yeah.
walker or a non-rolling walker, but I'm not sure that we have the capacity to be making recommendations on wheelchairs, transport chairs versus a regular chair, the height of walkers, the height of canes.
Exactly.
You could hurt somebody's shoulder, hurt somebody,
Yep.
So, I've long had concern about us loaning stuff, unless it was a physician or provider recommended. But I feel like that's a council on aging decision of stopping home visits and stopping loaning of equipment.
Yeah, that would be council on aging. I'm more concerned what he's talking
The
about. is
liability.
Which
Liability.
falls right onto us.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to hear from the insurance company and KP on both of his suggestions.
And if I may, I did speak with the insurance rep for the town of Ocam. She called for something else, and it was the day after I spoke with Mr. Rochette about this. And I just asked her, and she said that a sign that stated all equipment donated to the town of Ocam are received as is. The town of Ocam does not inspect or repair any donated equipment. The town of Ocam is not liable for any donated equipment. Would be sufficient, but that was just that portion.
That's the insurance agent.
That's the
Yes,
insurance. Yes.
Council.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
saying,
we're doing a
Absolutely.
signed waiver for volunteering.
Mhm.
Like, I would say there should be a waiver for the equipment thing.
And
That's
they
what I was
approved
going
it.
to
They
say.
approved that, yeah.
Let somebody sign off that
Mhm.
they will take it as
Yeah.
their own liability. That I do not mind have flyers
Mhm.
associated, because we do get
That's a
calls,
good start.
and they do want them.
Mhm.
But I still want to hear from council on.
Because, like, we don't have people walking up to the storage unit and saying, oh, I'll take one of those. We're actually bringing them,
Right.
in a lot of cases, to people's homes.
In some homes, I have been present when someone has come.
Okay.
Two people one lady from Barry and one from Ocam called. And that's another question, should it be from other towns? And that brought up signage because she didn't know where we were. But those people had something in mind. They had an elderly person visiting. It was not going to be a long-term situation for a particular, it was a grandparent visiting that they needed assistance with in a home. The other thing I wanted to say is I did research, and I have at least 3 forms of the waivers for durable health equipment from different towns. And this committee that I have looking at the manual was to look at the waivers and see if any of those fit OCAM as well. Because I think we may be more unique than some of the towns that have waivers.
Can you give copies of the waivers to Maribel so
Yes.
she can send them to council?
Sure.
I wouldn't mind doing it that way.
Mhm.
I would like to see something stay available for our people, because otherwise it is difficult, or it costs them an arm and a leg to
Right.
get them when they're getting out of the doctors.
But I think we should make sure that they're being cleaned before they go in, like, but again, I think that would be the council on aging that would need to do those sorts of things, decide on those things, but I hope we are disinfecting them.
Just before I give them out to people, I do them.
Yeah.
If they're just sitting in there, whatever,
Yeah.
they're not going to be disinfected until they're ready to be given.
But you don't want to mix something you just dropped off in with the clean stuff.
Right.
Sorry, I'm infection control.
Yeah, no, I understand.
so-
Believe me, after going through COVID, we
Uh-huh,
understand all of that stuff very, very well.
I did note in there that the recipient should be responsible for the condition, because somebody picks up a wheelchair, it either gets thrown on the back of a pickup truck or stuffed in a trunk. It can be damaged in their transport, okay? We would never even know about it.
Yeah.
If somebody gets hurt with that piece of equipment because it's not up to par, that's why I think the recipient should accept the responsibility for the condition.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that. Usually we've gotten them back cleaned. We did get some from a house that was closed down that wasn't cleaned, you know?
You throw in the.
But most of them come back with a full explanation of, I cleaned this, I did this, I did this. Well, that's good.
It's a service that's very appreciated.
It is very
Some
appreciated.
people that don't have insurance, it helps them
Yep.
immensely. Sometimes people with a walker, okay, they'll have a nice clean walker for inside their house. It's nice to have a second one to be able to take on the road when you have to transport somebody somewhere. I mean, I've never seen anybody come back with something that wasn't very appreciative of having,
No,
you know, the
not at
chance to
all.
borrow.
Not at all.
Okay, we'll do some work on this. Okay. Next up, Aaron.
Rutland Shared Services discussion, human resources. So we've done a lot of work on policy creation, and one of the areas that I brought up early on was the question about a personnel manual, and I believe that the board prior to me had worked on a personnel manual, although I think it hadn't been distributed yet. And I had reviewed it, and I found some things that I questioned, and I think this is a liability to not have a human resource professional review it and offer recommendations on the manual. But also, like even during COVID, when it first broke out and people were getting COVID, we didn't really have an HR policy on how do we give time off. Like we need that. I think that's an area that's lacking in OCAM, and Rutland just hired somebody 35 hours. Barry is hiring somebody. New Braintree is hiring somebody. I think, so I had a conversation with the town administrator in the coffee line at the conference, and I said, so you're HR person? And he goes, yeah, I heard you were hiring her. And like, no. We're just, would it be an option? And he said he would love to sit down and understand what we might be looking at. But even if we looked at the personnel policy as one item, but then looking at as needed, if we had some issue come up, I think it's in our best interest to have somebody like on retainer that we could use for HR matters.
The HR policy was written by an HR person. We didn't write it.
Yeah.
But it's 3 years old.
Right.
So does it need some tweaking? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd be very much in favor of having somebody do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's totally infrastructure
Right.
of ARPA.
Right.
Like that's building something that employees haven't really seen officially. And I think it's important that before we say, here, this is what you're responsible for, let's do a 2024 review.
Yep.
And say, sign that you received it, you understand it, you're accountable to it. And I feel like Rutland with this professional could easily see that and go, oh, this looks good. They might recognize it.
I'm sure they're going to recognize it. It was the same guy that wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the town administrator he offered to sit down and get an idea of what we were looking for. And I said that I'd rather talk to the board before I did that.
I don't have any problem with that.
So see what he has to speak about, but he said he would want a shared services agreement.
Oh, yeah. So we do it the ambulance.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I came across a personnel policy from 1989, 1990 the other day, and I said, wow, I forgot that existed, but they were working on it and thinking on it way back when. But nothing has ever come forward to the employees.
We'll get it over the finish line.
Yeah,
Was that Norm Carpenter, Leo McCaffrey? Back then, personnel?
way back, yes. Yep. They even had a, personnel board that,
That was the
Named.
personnel board, so I have stuff in my files on that.
And sorry, one last thing. I think that even looks at, the bylaw regarding time off and all of that. It's a very liberal bylaw, which
The
is,
bylaw is antiquated.
yes,
It was
and
put through in 2012.
it's
No
not,
updates.
no other town around us would have a bylaw that gives those benefits.
Benefits shouldn't be in the bylaw to
No,
begin
it
with,
should be in a policy.
so.
So I think if we end up going down that road of looking at that bylaw, it would also have some experience of somebody who's written benefit policies.
While you're talking about that, I was gonna do it under new business, but I sent an email to Jared, Town Council. He's going to be looking at that
Nice,
and seeing how he can fit our rules and regs into that
nice.
without
Oh,
a bylaw stating how many vacation days you get, Anyway, he's working on that. Next up, Town Hall Study Committee, Phil?
Yes. I passed to Maribel, another copy of our.
Karen, I put it-
I have
23 town meeting,
mhm.
and so far, we've essentially looked at basically just two options. We looked at a whole new building or various ways of renovating this one. Everything finally comes down to costs and funding sources. I think we figured that for a completely new building, the general range, the general budget would be between 6 and 10 million, depending on whether or not a police facility was included. And renovation of this building, depending on how extensive and how it was phased, would be more like probably 3 to 5 million. The other thing I wanted to pass on to you for when you have a chance, this is about the whole process of
Oh, I have this.
hiring an architectural firm, the whole process of how how a municipality goes through that.
Right.
did you upload that?
But here's the
Okay.
paper he provided.
And there's an article clip to that for the town of Warren, just to do a feasibility study once they have gone through the process of hiring tech-town architects. The study alone is 75,000.
Right,
So,
right, it is.
and there would be a lot of voter involvement in any one of the options. The newer input, we've had some discussion with Larry Hendra about, and some other people, about the center school. And that really comes into a question of whether we look at demographics optimistically and say, well, it'll be a turnaround and people with kids will come out here again and will need the school. Or the other point of view that, well, the demographics don't look like they are going to go back to rural communities. And in either case, if we were to include the school as a serious third option, that would be a consideration. Because sometime in the future, if the demographics do come back and we begin to get enough families in Ocam who need the school, then if we've taken it over as a municipal facility, then it would cost a lot more money to build a school than it would to build a new municipal facility.
FY '24 from the schools, 4 of the 5 towns had a decrease in population for school kids, except Ocam, we went up
We did.
9%. So,
I think that's the reason in the June 23 report there, we hadn't put much attention on
Right.
those in the school.
yeah,
Right.
And at the municipal conference, because that week they had a huge housing bill
Mhm.
in Boston. But, you know, the cost of houses has gone up, the available apartments has gone down, the cost of apartments has gone down. There's just not enough houses. I think you have to build 400,000 residences for the number of people that we need to house. So where is there to go? In the city, you're not gonna start bunking houses. So I do think they're gonna start recognizing that maybe there's something to be had for rural communities, but do we want that?
About 15 years ago, Central Mass Regional Planning did a build-out study of many of the towns out here. And they came up with the proposal that Ocam, if it were fully built on anything that was legally buildable, we could have a population of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
That's with the 3 acre minimum.
Yes.
Yeah. And in that bill, there's authorization to take state forest land and turn it into buildable property. That's in the bill.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We get a lot more money than the 150,000 we're getting now in a pilot.
I almost
Yeah.
think at any time they could turn over some more of the land that they have that DCR is in charge of. And they could do that at any time just by a vote in Boston saying, give up that property. And because there are so many modern methods of protecting the water sources that they could still use that property for building. So even that is available when, and if Boston decides to use it.
And right now, finding available places for housing seems to be their priority, maybe over water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Phil, what's our next step on this?
I think the next step would be probably to put a non-binding question on the next town meeting, just asking voters, what do you think? Just a paragraph on each one saying that option A could be 6 to 10 million and B could be 3 to 5 and what's the consensus?
If the police department is included in a new town hall, how much more would that raise the cost?
Well, that's where we figure 6 to 10 million, because a make-believe building on the land that the town owns, where the highway department is, the current police station, if we did a complete new building there, if it were just the municipal features, that's what we figured probably 6 to 7 million. If we add a police department, that could be another 4 on one building that will probably have 2 levels, depending how we work the
Right,
topography in there.
right. Do we still get federal money if we include the police department?
We haven't really done any looking into
Okay,
where funding would come from, how grants, whether the Department of Ag would, whether it be agricultural grants or how a municipality could fund something
Right.
as big as that.
right.
And there has been talk on the rural group about municipal building funding, especially for rural communities that have buildings from the 1800s that need to be upgraded. So, I mean, I think there's definitely grant money that we'd be looking at. It's not going to cover 10 million.
It will not.
That's kind of what you'd like to know before you put the question before the people too.
Yes.
You know, be interested to know if it's gonna cost 10 million, we're gonna get 5 in grants. So the true cost of the town may not be $10 million.
You may
Yeah.
not know that by
Yeah.
name.
True.
I built the police station in Air, and I went through all of this whole process. And we were lucky, we had gotten, and this is back in the late 90s. We had gotten 250,000, imagine what that is today, from the feds, because we put a emergency center in it, and civil defense and all that.
Right.
It's the only reason we got it.
Okay.
So we did.
And
did
that's
pretty well
something
with
we would
that.
have to think about doing too for our small community.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, that might help.
Because the present school, I believe, is set up for refuge.
Yep.
Yep.
And so it would make sense if we're adding a whole new municipal facility to make that just as well.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to get a little bit more.
In your initial study, did you look at what would be, with that 6 to 10, what would be in that building? Would it be a center, like with a kitchen? Would it, what offices would it have?
Yes, we figured it would be all of the current boards and the council on aging. left anybody out of the conceptual.
Were other boards or committees involved in that process?
Actual police department has been involved.
Okay.
Right.
Good
And
representative.
conceptually, we just figured out if the way we're doing use of a lot of the rooms in this building, in a whole new facility, ideally, there would be more opportunity for meeting rooms, single use for some of the boards, like they have in other towns where you can secure planning board files, for example, and CBA and Board of Health. And Council on Aging would have at least as much space, if they probably double what they have downstairs in this building.
Yeah, I think it should definitely go to the town, but I think making sure that, 20-year-olds and 80-year-olds and 50-year-olds are part of the concept discussion.
Yes.
And definitely a member of the Board of Health, a member of the assessors, that there really be that engagement with everybody.
That would be when you actually get an architect.
But if we're saying 6 to 10, are we sure that 6 to 10 is going to include some of the essential? I think if you said a space for everybody, because right now I've been, I do Board of Health out of my basement because there really isn't a place here
Yep.
Right.
to do it. But hopefully we weren't thinking about, well, we've always done it that way. So we're going to keep doing it that way.
No,
Because
they
that's
can't,
not
they can't do that.
Definitely enough space for everybody.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
More than enough space, right?
conservation would love to have a room,
Not a closet.
not a closet and not these covers.
All of that stuff you're talking about is designer selection
Mhm.
stuff. So you would
Yeah.
have somebody come in, designer selection,
Yes.
and they would take
Stakeholders.
stakeholders and. put it
Because
all
when I
together.
talked to Ann Goby's representative a year or so ago, and we were discussing this, that we were going to be looking for money at some time to maybe build or maybe renovate this building. He said, well, do you have a study committee? I said, yes, we do.
Yeah.
He says, well, do you have a planning committee? I said, yeah, we have our planning committee now. And he says, then you need an architect. And he said they could help us get an architect for $50,000. Now, the price of architect might have gone up since I talked to them to 75,000. But he said that with this and getting a vote from the town of how they want to do it, that would be the next step for us to take, would be an architect. And I told him we had one on board anyway.
Specific facilities too, as Aaron said, I do a lot of work for the planning board from home because I don't have the computers.
Exactly,
and couldn't do it here.
right.
Right. Well,
I appreciate all the work that this committee's been doing, but I still would like to see the center school, some kind of a preliminary idea what it would cost to convert that building.
Yep.
Because there's still 500 empty seats or more in the Quabbin system, okay? Which allows for substantial growth within the Quabbin community.
Mhm.
And I did talk, it was probably 2 years ago now, that I talked with Dr. Muir. And I said, before I even suggest this, I said, do you have any plans, for the center school and the future of the Quabbin system? And I explained to her, how we were looking for a town hall, that might be one possibility. And she said, Quabbin could do without the center school, no problem. She said, the only thing is, if the town did wish to go that route, they would have to know about it at the end of a school year, so they had the entire summer
Right.
to reduce bus routes and
Right.
and reconfigure, certain grades.
There's a lot that goes with it. Yep.
But I mean, the center school is a possibility.
And then
okay? I don't think it should be
where would our
totally
students
ignored.
go?
I think it's a good option to give to the town, we get choices A, B,
Absolutely.
and C. And I think in all fairness, that should be included.
But where would our students go if they closed the center school? What was her idea?
Right now, we have the kids from two towns.
Right.
The elementary school kids, and we're basically right around 50% capacity in that building,
Yeah,
okay? They would probably put together, I think what grade 5 now is already brought into one building.
I think so.
I think they would move grade 5 up into the center school, up at the Quabbin campus.
Okay,
And our kids, depending on grades, would probably be, some would go to Barry and some might go to Hubbardston.
Barry is full. Ruggles is
Seaman
Ruggles is-
and Hubbard is
Ruggles
dinner
is full.
too.
Hardwood,
Yeah, but if they
Hubbardston's
move,
pretty
if
full.
they move the 5th grade from Ruggles Lane, where they have room in the middle school. they've been talking about this. I'm just saying, the Quabbin administration has no problem as far as the student population in doing without the center school.
I think the 30-year-old parents probably have differing opinions, though.
Well, the residents are gonna.
As a resident and
All
a
I'm asking
parent.
is to give people the option.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I do think that as a parent and as a town resident, with some of my fellow moms and parents, it's already concerned that sixth graders are at Quabbin, exposed at such a young age, never mind pushing fifth graders. I think that my personal opinion, I think that there would be a lot of pushback on that. But I do agree that the town has the right to have options.
Okay,
Senator Durant asked us if we had any budget requests. Other towns around us put in their pet projects all the time. I mean, could we ask him to assist us with entitlement or what do you call those? Some pork to maybe fund a study?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is Central Mass Regional. I think CMRPC may even have some ideas on grants for this. So I definitely think looking for funding for the study and like a presentation before the town meeting, I think would be helpful. Using the technology we have, allowing people to see that so that they're not coming to the meeting and voting on and you might have already planned that. But to do some education before the town meeting and do that initial idea, getting people's opinion on 3 options.
Many variables and costs, that's the hard part.
But it's as someone who uses this building for 9 years, personally, this isn't the right building. But the townspeople should say, yep, we support moving forward, or we don't support moving forward, and it kills the issue.
True.
So.
It has to go to the voters one way or the other. It has to go. They have to make the decision.
yeah.
We can just offer ideas and proposals, and it's up to them.
Anything else? That's it.
Thank you.
And we did submit questions to Ann Goby's office for this year. We didn't get anything. Just want to, so you know that.
Yeah.
Okay, next up
It wasn't
is
pork, it was some good stuff there. And we made
executive
3
session minutes.
recommendations and didn't get any.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I didn't have a question.
Oh.
Executive session minutes, that's yours.
Mine?
To be, if they want to be posted.
Well, it was actually just minutes in general too. So right now, what's our expectation? Is it the clerk that's posting the minutes? I mean, we've got this beautiful website. Most of the boards are uploading their own minutes, but we're also handing minutes into the clerk. Could we ask the clerk to upload the minutes so they're accessible for all the residents, or are we depending on people to ask for them if that board or committee doesn't upload them? And the question is executive session minutes. My understanding is once they're approved and released, why wouldn't we also post those with all the other minutes? I do see towns do it and some towns don't do it.
Depends on what it is.
I would not vote for it.
I mean, it's all public record.
I know,
To a point.
I understand that.
With the ones that we've done,
Yep.
have only been contract negotiations. There's nothing controversial there or anything. However, in the executive session exemptions, there's personnel issues. We're not going to be posting personnel issues with names and everything. That's all going to be redacted.
Right.
Somebody's got to go through it.
But that's redacted even before it goes. I mean, do we turn over our approved minutes to the clerk, don't we? The Board of Selectmen?
The approved minutes go to the clerk, not redacted. Yeah.
But so if somebody requests
Somebody
those,
requests it, we have to redact certain things out of it. Anything personal.
We have to be very careful.
We have to be very, very, very careful with that. And the other thing is, if we took disciplinary action on an employee, say we terminated them, is that executive session minutes really closed? Because they have up to 2 years to file a claim against the town and 3 to file the suit.
Oh, yeah, and that's why it's the Board of Selectmen who has to vote to
That's why
release
you
those
see some
minutes.
boards say not for release because they know something's coming down the line.
Yep.
You know? And it's not to hide anything. It's
Yeah.
just,
I mean,
it
the
puts us in a legal.
Canton has 2 years of some of their executive sessions that they haven't released, and I'm guessing they're going to have them a lot longer.
Yeah,
But I do think we should think about a way to make sure that all of the maybe non-executive session minutes at least are getting on the website,
Mhm.
but how?
Oh, I do the one.
You do them for the Board of Selectmen, I do
Same
them for the Board of
in
Health.
general.
all the boards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'd be happy to help the clerk. But we could maybe ask the boards to upload them, because we didn't provide training on that, I don't think.
No.
We're just posting the agendas, which everyone's doing great. But
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the little step-by-step. It was just for agendas that I provided.
yeah, too much, we don't want to do too much. too fast.
Right, but honestly, the minutes is pretty much the
Easy.
same thing.
You've done yours, Alan?
Yes,
So it's not,
for a
you
long
can-
time.
if you can do the agenda, then you.
Because like the library trustees, they ended up having a lot of minutes they hadn't submitted. And there's none online. Or maybe recently they just put them
Recently,
online. But. So do someone talk to the clerk about that or?
Sure you can.
Okay. Happy to do that.
So then the clerk would have to have access to each of the web pages because
Yeah.
you have access only for your little, you know, if you're Board of Health to Board of Health.
Yeah.
So she would need to obtain access to each department or committee or board.
Yeah.
So she can then post to each one.
Yep.
If that's the case.
Just remember, the
And she
more,
has that ability to,
Well, yeah, you can, Maribel would grant that ability.
okay.
just remember, the more you put on that office,
Oh, I know.
Or each committee can do.
That's
it.
why we need a clerk that,
well, this is what I'm getting at.
yeah,
Yeah,
You're gonna put more on
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the town clerk.
So I know Council on Aging puts up their minutes. Finance puts up their minutes. Board
I
of
mean, and I'd be happy to put up all the minutes of the boards that
Board of
don't
Health puts
have
up.
access.
So I think, and I have helped tree warden when he does it. It's once in a blue moon, so it takes 2 seconds. So I think the other big one would be maybe planning board,
Yeah, there's no minutes on.
right? Parks and Rec,
Yeah, no minutes.
no minutes. And I too would help the ones that are, you know, just here and there because it's not very frequent.
So I think in the interim, maybe not asking the clerk, but maybe if Maribel and I could help.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, she's an interim clerk. She's
Yeah,
helping us out.
yeah.
Let's wait till we get a permanent
Yeah,
clerk
yeah.
before we
Yeah.
do that.
I have a
She has a
decision
lot.
from the planning board that has to be posted with the clerk's signature on it and a stamp on it like that. She has to post it on it.
She has
herself.
to.
Yes, she will have to. Just one page, but still it is a determination and we have to publicize it for 20 days.
Right.
So it needs to be out there.
She does have access.
Yeah. So that is one thing that's
And
coming
it
very
can go on
soon.
the clerk's
Mhm.
section,
Yeah.
just like when the ballots, the warrant,
Mhm.
all that.
Yeah.
I know I did the last one, but typically, I know the previous town clerk did posted all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that?
Yep.
Highway superintendent replacement. What do we want to do?
Post it.
We're going to need to post it.
I saw the town of Dudley is posted for a highway superintendent. Within this week, like yesterday.
Where do we post it? M&A.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there a
Kevin,
highway?
is there a highway association?
I'm sure there must be.
There's
There's associations for everything.
I would look up the Dudley one. It was interesting. And it's as highway superintendent.
Okay.
and the salary was in there.
Not as DPW.
Nope, highway. I was surprised.
Yeah, I would be surprised for them too, because they just got some money.
Yeah, oh yeah, 160,000
Yeah.
for MVP grant.
That's why I figured that they would use it towards
Yeah.
their highway.
I know that if I may just, it would have to be clear, like the hours. And someone, I forget who I was talking to, maybe the accountant, or I'm not really sure, I can't recall. But I do remember someone saying to me, you know, if you can't give an exact amount, a ballpark figure, because at least they know the high end, a range, or the low end. If they don't see a number, they kind of go, and kind of skip over it typically.
And I think.
It's just a
they passed
suggestion.
A law, I don't know if it's gone into effect yet, about pay equity and disclosing ranges.
It's
So-
a good thing to do.
So we could put mid-70s.
And it can be like a range, and then upon experience, where you can fall in that. Mid-70s, you said?
70s.
Yep.
Okay. We'll get moving on that.
So do you, the board would like that posted immediately?
ASAP. Run out of time here.
Yeah,
It's February already.
because we need to post it, you know, when the budget comes, we're going to need a final number then.
Yep. Social media policy reminder. Is that,
Yeah, that was me. So I don't know that anybody really has, many people have followed up on the requests that Maribel made that anybody with a social media town account acknowledge the expectations, you know, the liabilities that we're trying to avoid, public record. And so I think we have to gently remind everybody that, you know, if they're representing the town, they have to be following the rules because it is retrievable.
Right, yep.
Histories and.
So I have a question on that, Aaron. If you don't, the town doesn't have a specific page for, let's say, planning board or any committee that doesn't, or department that doesn't have a Facebook page, but a volunteer or an employee from that department replies or engage in conversation, is it the same? Should it be all employees to sign that waiver? Because if they're going to talk town business, even if it's not on an official Town of Ocam page, it can be in connection.
KP talks
Does
about
that make
yeah,
sense?
it's in there.
Yeah, I thought it was in the policy that,
Policy.
Right, so what I'm saying is like all
Probably good for
employees, so
everybody.
I think it's just a reminder that maybe some people look at it and say, oh, we don't have a a
Oh, yeah.
Facebook page on this department, but it can be just anybody who engages in social media that is the town.
The policy is clear.
I thought so, yeah.
I don't know, I gotta give them all reminders.
Well, I mean, I think there's an unofficial battery. It isn't really a
That's, yeah.
town one, but townspeople do, town officials do comment on it,
Mhm.
but it's not coming from an official capacity. But it'd be important, if you do comment as a elected or appointed official, your words
Mhm.
carry the
Be
same.
very careful.
Yeah, they do.
And
And you can't comment and I can't comment.
because then it could be discussion outside of a meeting.
So I don't
Okay.
comment.
I see, I thought she just didn't like me.
Well, that too.
And then I think because we've got, 800 followers on the town page. Right now, Dawn and Maribel are the only ones with access. Like, if the Board of Health has something, like, how do we help get these messages across? What's the process of spreading it? Because there are some boards that don't have anything, but do want to get messages on social media.
And like we've said before, I have very minimal, like I can't authorize somebody else, you as a board member, like my authority on there doesn't give me authority I can't even pin a post.
No.
Like I have very basic.
We've got an issue with that because I have Ashley's
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah.
I've given it to her. She still hasn't.
And
had
I
it.
can't do it.
So we gotta.
Do you want me to try to get in touch with Facebook?
Yeah, just something's gotta be done there.
So I'll-
She should be able to get it.
I
once
need
out
to
of
be
sign.
Ashley.
You gotta be Ashley.
Yeah. Because like our policy says that boards should have a second person, and that they can authorize their entire board to have it. So I think there's a benefit to the town page having more so that if we see something from the library, we can share it. But
Yeah.
definitely fixing the permissions
Yeah.
on that page, or we have to make a decision to start
Well,
over.
that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. You might
It's-
have to take it down and do it all over.
On me, it's not because I don't want to give
No, I know.
other people, trust me, the last things, but I just don't have that authority.
Yeah, so.
It's weird. We've been,
Security.
Johnny and I, he's gone back and forth with the mobile app, then he went and checked on the desktop, and he's like, I sent you this, and I'm like, nope, still can't do it.
Well, I tried to give our clerk access, the former Board of Health clerk access. And I push it through and I'm looking at her phone. She didn't get the alert that she's a user. So I understand that. So will we send out a reminder then to all employees and boards to please turn that in?
Yeah, all. Boards and committees.
Okay. Bylaw Review Committee.
Yes, so I think we learned with the personnel benefit thing that we may have some bylaws that are antiquated. And, you know, as far as like next steps with the Town Hall Study Committee, I'd like to see us kind of start a advisory committee or something on the bylaws. So, yeah.
Yeah, Rutland just went through that. They're voting on it this May.
Yeah, and they've been doing sessions on it and
It's a 2-year project.
It is.
so like solicit interest.
Yeah.
On a bylaw advisory.
Advisory Committee,
Yep.
7 people,
Mhm.
5, 7.
Yep,
7.
yeah,
Seven.
definitely more.
And I think you need at least 7.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Bill,
The general bylaws or zoning bylaws?
I'm not concerned about the zoning personally.
general?
General.
I don't think anyone's looking to change
No.
zoning. We like the 3-acre minimum.
The general ones need to be updated.
Like even the terminology.
Mhm.
So, you know, there is this wave about making gender neutral names of boards. Massachusetts legislature and the Mass Select Board Association changed it from selectmen. Even though the first woman was elected in 1921, it's still selectmen in Massachusetts. There's about 150 towns that still have selectmen, but our bylaws would have to be updated to change it to select board. So that might be one that would be looked at. And then whatever.
Okay.
When do you want to start the committee?
If we gave it a month of
Application.
seeking interest,
Okay.
And where do you want this, like an email internally, Facebook?
the website and
Websites.
yeah, social media,
Okay.
and really why are they interested in being on the bylaw review? I think it's important to say with a focus on the general, not the,
The general, yeah.
because I know one person
You
reached
have it
out.
worded that you want? Okay, I was gonna say, send it over, okay,
Just not the zoning.
Yep.
Not the-
okay.
Next up is upper payroll upgrade vote. That's the,
350 per,
Oh,
so it's $3.50 per month, per user. And there was a question from the treasurer whether we should, and it was about 44 users that get payroll. But among them are the firefighters that might have 1 hour in a pay period. And then there's the police department. If you took all those out, I think I counted 14 that are library, assessors, not police and fire. But it's $350 per person. If we went with everybody, I think it was about $4,000.
Yeah, $4,004, I think it was.
So we have to come up with funding to pay for this fiscal year once it gets turned on, which they're still working on.
So for now, it's opera.
Yep. So we could designate 4,000 for this fiscal year, but I don't know that we should be doing police and fire. Because I think we should also look at how they're paid. For 1 hour, it costs how much for a paper check, how much to, like, how often does fire get paid? Right now, it's every other.
Well, they have to be paid bi-weekly.
The
Yeah.
treasurer said that fire department wasn't under the wage an hour, because I asked that. That many departments are monthly for fire.
Because they're on.
Yeah, call firefighters, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know you can't do it with the PD.
Yeah, because they're hourly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Leave that up to her.
I would just, yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to negotiate that with the chief, maybe let him know.
Let them know.
But it's the number for this fiscal year.
Okay.
It'd be no more than 4,000 if all 44 people received it each month.
So top end 4,000, but
Yeah.
it'd be less.
Oh, yeah, because we're not even ready to implement. It's
Right.
at least a month or more from go live.
All right.
So I would move that we allocate up to $4,000 for the implementation of Harper's payroll. It's called time and attendance.
Yep. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town hall repairs, restroom.
So this was also under ARPA. The Council on Aging, because they had no space, used to store durable medical equipment in the men's room toilet. And I was very happy when we moved that out for infection control purposes. There's also an issue downstairs in the men's room, if you've been down there, some of you haven't, that basically you could pick between using the urinal or using the sink because they're about, 3 feet from each other. And so I'm proposing that we allocate up to $200 for the purchase of a urinal wall divider. There's splatter. And we should be trying to keep the sink clean and provide some privacy. Yes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town hall office hours.
Oh, yes.
Notifying people when,
Yeah, so I wonder if we should have a formal policy on when the school is closed. People should understand that the town hall most likely could be closed so that there's not a question of whether or not they come up here. I know the highway, if we have a big storm, may not even be plowed. Some towns have a policy that
there's
it's
a
automatic.
policy in the policy book about snow closures for the town hall. It's old.
And we have it for the senior.
Senior center, I knew the senior center.
Yes,
It's an old one, but it was up to the chairman of the board to call it.
yes.
So, but how would the people know?
Well, Put it on the website.
Social media.
So it'd be a case by case.
just say if the schools are closed,
Just-
town hall
yeah.
is closed.
Yeah.
That's the
That's
easiest-
basically what
it's
I'm
the
saying
easiest
it
thing
would
to
be.
do.
But it's
It
not,
works well downstairs, it should work well.
everybody besides the treasurer can work remotely. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the employees aren't working.
Mhm.
It's at the building. Don't expect the building to be.
Right.
Be open.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I would ask, is that we have that as a policy.
I have a question.
Yep.
If that's the case, would it apply to any evening hours?
The
Because-
schools, if daytime
24 hours.
it's canceled, then evening,
Okay,
so then that means meetings.
so then I follow up with meetings. If it's a Monday and it's canceled and it's a selectmen's meeting or any board or committee's meeting, what then? I know that I think New Braintree, they cancel all along and reschedule. At least that's what I was told. But, you know, just thinking of all the gray areas.
I think that's kind of why you have the ability to have Zoom too. You don't screw up your posting. You can still have a legal meeting, even if the public can't come to the meeting. It's still legal,
Yeah.
if it's held by Zoom.
So even if town hall is closed, if you have a meeting, you can still come.
100% of the voting members can still be on Zoom.
Right,
So everybody would, yeah.
right, okay.
I would rather not force boards to cancel a meeting.
It takes too much to
Yeah,
do that, because
yeah.
we didn't cancel. Usually, we're plowed out enough by night
Yeah.
time that we can have our meetings.
So it'd only be the office hours.
Okay,
It doesn't impact meetings.
But would meetings be automatically, you think, on Zoom, assumed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if you had 100% of a board on Zoom, or you had less than a quorum on Zoom, is there an issue with the open meeting law in that there are a lot of people in the world, not just in Ocam, who couldn't connect with Zoom? Computer's out of date, the browser can't be updated, they don't know how to use the tech, they can't do it on the phone, they would have no way of.
Unless it's a hearing, the law does not require that people have to be able to attend a meeting.
Mhm.
That's the law. You have to, like, if it's on Zoom, you then release the video of the meeting, but the law doesn't require public comment during a meeting.
Mhm.
The chair can say there is no
Right.
public comment.
Yep.
So the current law that's in place today specifically says 100% of the board can be remote. There is no quorum requirement for remote. And there, in the municipal modernization or empowerment bill, it's going to be permanent. They propose that remain permanent. So that's the allowance. It
We have
allows
to
it.
buy new furniture for the planning board then.
We might not even need to buy furniture here. Well, no, we have to be here
Oh,
first.
yeah, that was an ARPA thing.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Does the board have any new business?
So I did have something else under ARPA.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, did I?
It's not on.
Sorry, I just had the category. I thought the category would be okay. So if we can't vote on it tonight, but we had talked about, there are 5, 6, 7, 10 nice chairs in here. So we modernized these chairs. And I've done a lot of research on what it would cost on the low end of nice chairs for audience members. I can get them between $45 and $50 a chair. And so if we were to purchase 20 chairs, it would be about $899 for 20 chairs at $45. $1,000 at the most if we were going to do $50 a chair. So my ask was going to be that we look to budget from ARPA between what did I say, $899?
Yes.
Yeah, so between 900 and 1,000 for the purchase of chairs.
Yes.
Yeah, for the audience. All the same, not mix and match, not metal chairs.
Would they be stackable? I'm just curious.
Used furniture, like when my,
Yes, so that would be part of the budget, allowing a budget up to,
up to that, okay.
which I did look at used furniture. There was a place in Leicester. They never responded to any mails or calls, so I don't know if they're even still open.
Street in Worcester, there's a big Commonwealth.
Is it still there?
I think so.
Across from Millbrook? Okay,
These chairs are not stackable.
I don't know.
I don't see them being stacked anywhere.
You try to open it up for voting.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you go with stackable, you'll get metal chairs, or you'll get, those are the best you can do for stackable.
Well, how you gonna open this place up like a voting if you got 3 big chairs? We're gonna put them
There are other places that we could vote,
like where?
where we used to always vote, the school.
Yeah, I suppose it's possible.
But you can go on a municipal bid also.
Do they have chairs? Yeah.
Municipal has a lot of furniture.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yep. So the how we get it isn't what I was asking for, is that we would look for funding.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so you want a motion for up to 1,000?
Yep, for the purchase of cost-effective chairs for the people. I mean, I researched all on these chairs to get the lowest possible, and I put them together so they were the cheapest, so.
So up to 1,000.
And I think we can get them much cheaper.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. New business. I already said mine, so. Old business, we have website grant update.
Maribel and I met with Civic Plus. And the takeaway from that, from my perspective, is our website may look old, but there are other towns that have our same version, and it looks 30 years newer. The reason, they have somebody who does it. Ours was created in 2020.
Yeah.
And it really hasn't had any upgrades, meaning it hasn't been, let's add a new picture. Civic Plus, we're at like 7. They're now at 10. So there are towns that have already upgraded to 10. They've been working through getting people there. Even if we don't do anything, we're automatically going to move up to 10 for no additional cost. But in a year from now,
Yeah, we don't know how.
and we looked at all of the Cadillac options. I mean, and it's as much as, let's use my app to say, oh, that chair's broken, and it's going to send an alert to 15 people to tell them there's a chair broken. I don't really think we need that.
No.
That was really the level of sophistication beyond what we have right now, which honestly, we don't need it.
No.
What we
Okay.
have now works great. There are options potentially that could add on that would, let's say, track the social media, because it's all public record. We're reliant on the individual board, or
They'll archive it.
they archive it. They would then get all that information into the town so that we have some control of it.
It
So
would be a, you know.
that is the
addition.
annual additional cost. But right now, we could use the funding to push us ahead to going to number 10. But I don't, except for maybe adding the social media archiving, I don't see any real additional benefit.
Okay.
And one of the questions that Aaron and I were both synced on was, if we use the funding that we have now to push to 10, that eventually we would get up to 10 when they roll it out in whatever time, the yearly cost, if you let it roll out on its own, you're gonna get the lower yearly cost because it's happening automatically. But if we purchase it now, prior to the rollout, our yearly cost would be higher.
Or a new customer.
So we would be considered a new customer, but him and I were both like on the same page of going, well, we're dedicated customers for this long.
Yeah.
What are the chances that we can get the rollout yearly fee versus the new customer fee? You know, there's other web
Yeah, Yeah.
options. So he said he would look into, see what he can do.
All right. So you're gonna look in the other one, that one you talked about?
I did, I did reach out to him. I got something today for a demo.
Okay,
Oh, good.
very good. See what we do. Does anybody have any correspondence?
Oh, MVP.
There's MVP. Right under old business.
Um,
Oh, that's
so,
the one.
Phil, Tom, and I enjoy each other so much that we also are on the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission in Maribel,
I am, but I was not at this meeting.
which is the only reason I didn't mention you, because I forgot.
That's okay.
So we're on this MVP, HMP Plan and Open Space and Recreation group. Apparently, we're the last in the state to do this. And this is all about funding, grant funding.
Mhm.
Personally, for me, it's starting to make sense as to why we're doing it. We're close. We're almost there. We just gotta persevere, and maybe somebody should bring coffee or something to these meetings. So next steps, they're asking us to invite key stakeholders, volunteer to come to a 4 to 8 hour. We tried to emphasize 4, but there are certain requirements for the grant. And so they're going to try to offer video so that we've all watched the videos. Hopefully it'll be 6 hours of videos. And we just have to come for 2.
It is a Saturday, so that's.
Yep. So we have to provide the emails for all these stakeholders. And some of them are town employees that we'd be inviting to come be part of this voluntary required piece.
Quiet.
Yeah,
But it's what needs to be done to get through.
yeah, if we don't do it. And
Got it.
so the town of Leicester is a green community, I mean, not Leicester, Rutland, and just got $250,000 for new
Right.
heating systems. So it's the small price to pay to get grants.
Mhm.
And they hope to have this done by June.
So you don't need a vote on anything.
No, it was just to let you know that this is continuing.
Okay.
We did have one of our members resign from the committee,
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
a Parks and Rec rep.
all right. Anything else on that? No. Now correspondence.
I left it on my desk. Q Drug sent an invitation to the town for an event that they're holding on March 23rd at, I'm gonna have to go look, I'm sorry. It just came to me. It's like $50 or $60 a person. It's obviously like a fundraiser to get benefits, but yeah, they sent it out to town. I'm gonna go get it because I can't remember all the details, sorry.
The email we got.
Yes, there was an email as well.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like what Q Drug is doing. It's a local nonprofit. They do a lot of outreach for substance use issues. Wonder if I'm not on that.
So here it is. It's, we invite you to join us to celebrate Q Drug's 10th anniversary, Saturday, March 23rd, 2024, 5:30 to 9:30 at the Hardin Allen Estate, 59 Allen Drive in Barry. Silent auction, awards, apps, dinner, and dessert. $50 a ticket or $400 for a table. RSVP by March 1st. Pretty.
Yeah, I saw that. That is pretty.
Yep. And then just under old business or Parks and Rec is gonna be meeting on Wednesday. And we'll submit their budget officially because they hadn't had a meeting and we wanted to make sure I was done in compliance. I know that right now there's an article for this that was funded at the special town meeting for the additional 5,000 for the town maintenance or town common maintenance and the field. Parks and Rec will also vote officially on how they'd like to proceed on taking over those two locations on Wednesday.
Okay.
So I will provide an update, well,
Okay.
at least the financial budget officially.
Are you the new chair?
I am not.
Okay, because that is.
That will probably be discussed as well. I would not like to hold that position.
Do we have that vacancy on the website as a open, you know, how we have finance committee?
So Parks and Rec had
a
9,
lot
10
of people?
people, so
Okay.
we had a couple, like last year, we voted that to make only 5 voting members and then alternates. So if a voting member couldn't be there, an alternate can vote. So I think that, again, I don't know how it's gonna be discussed, if, putting it out to who wants to step in or move forward, if any want to. But that will all be discussed on Wednesday and decided from there.
Okay. Anybody going to FinCom meeting Wednesday?
I'll go.
No,
No, Lucy's going, okay.
because we would have had to have posted it by tonight anyway, right?
Not if we're not taking part in it.
Okay. Well, I could watch it.
Yeah, everybody can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
it.
Watch it from home.
Yep.
I'll go in person,
Mhm.
provided it doesn't snow.
It's not gonna snow anymore.
No, it's not supposed to.
The groundhog said.
Oh, yeah, early spring.
Once they get through that meeting Wednesday, we can set up dates to meet.
We should start meeting at our very next meeting. We should start naming which department directors are going to come on which Mondays. We don't have too many more Mondays left if we're going every other week.
Or
It wouldn't hurt to go
I'd
every
like to
week.
do it on and off week, an off Monday. That way we get the time to spend with them.
Yep.
Without
I
900
agree.
things on the
I
agenda we gotta
agree.
deal with.
I agree.
So probably next Monday.
I can do it.
Make 3.
Board, yeah, and you could throw Board of Health in
We
there
can
to
do
get
at
one.
least 2.
other
If you
done.
want to do 3, that's fine.
Police, fire, highway.
And if you want to throw Board of Health in there, get one more done.
I think we should
Yeah,
do,
it's 0 yours out. That's all we have to do.
definitely first, we should do either police or library.
Okay,
And then if you want to add a third one, if you think we have enough time to add a third one, that's fine.
I think we did 3 last time.
I would take a smaller
So library,
library,
police,
police, and then take a smaller department.
yeah.
Okay.
On Monday.
Yeah.
And we called the board last year, for what it's worth, for fire and highway met at the fire station. I don't know if you guys want to just meet here.
We have the ability to Zoom from there.
When they did at least their budget, in case something came up and they wanted to show or explain anything. But either way, just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we could do it Zoom from there.
Yeah.
To the
We just
people.
have to make sure we use that.
Oh, that's right. There's another one. I don't have that one. Oh, no, it
Yes,
was on
we
the
posted
second,
it.
on the other
Yep.
page. Yep,
So when we posted
gotta
it, that
remember.
minute, we.
For when you guys do the
Yeah.
fire and highway.
And then the following week would be a regular meeting.
Mhm.
And then the following week after that would be fire and highway. And anything about the municipal building that we need to know. And then you could add, if you still want 3, you could add another one of the other departments.
Treasurer.
Yes. Or Board of Assessors.
Who were the first 3 for the first one? Library, police, and
police,
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
and this is for next Monday, which
Yep.
is the 12th.
Fire highway treasurer, the 27th. I'm sorry, the 26th.
So that would get us through February at least.
Yep.
With 6 departments.
When is, oh, Wednesday, okay. Hopefully it can coincide with FinCom too. It's easiest when they're there as well, so
Yeah.
hopefully that won't be an issue.
I did hear from the superintendent and they ended up getting less money this year from the state than they did last year.
Are we surprised?
And only funding 80% of transportation.
The governor's budget. Yeah.
And so she told me they were going back and going to sharpen their pencil again.
Good.
Because weren't they, at the beginning, they were going to do 90%, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, even what the governor announced at the municipal meeting, they've already changed and backed down on some of their grand ideas.
How about new town halls?
Not in it.
Still,
Yeah.
still a no-go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I knew that wouldn't change really.
A lot of people are asking for it.
Yeah.
Did we have Central Mass Regional Planning on the agenda?
No, for Janet to attend?
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'll reach out to her for the next meeting. Right? Was
Oh,
it?
did we already talk about that? That I could
Yeah,
talk to her?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just confusing me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
I thought
they
we-
asked me last week
Yeah.
and they said they'd like to meet before they come to a selectmen meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Because I guess President's Day is is
the
in
22nd.
2 weeks.
So it'd be,
But
yeah,
that's,
So that means our meeting is on the Tuesday?
Thursday.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that won't affect.
Because I
the
had said,
budget,
could
yeah.
you come to that meeting? And she said, no, it's on President's Day. I said, oh, we're probably not meeting either.
No, it'll be Tuesday, whatever that day is.
President's Day is the 19th,
So we'll
Monday.
meet the 20th.
20th.
okay, let's see. I've got FinCom on Wednesday. Don't want to forget.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 8:30.